Pirate Pete is a 2D pirate-themed arcade game released by Taito America in 1982. Taito is a studio behind such classics as 1978's Space Invaders and 1986's Bubble Bobble, and that game's classic sequel. I discovered Pirate Pete for the first time when scrolling through the Arcade Archives line on the Switch, and was drawn by its so obviously mid-80s blocky colourful graphics, so I took a chance. The question is, does Pirate Pete sink or swim? Let's play on and find out. Players control the titular character, Pirate Pete, as he navigates 4 treacherous environments, each with their own hazards and pitfalls. His mission is to brave each one in a bid to rescue his pirate lady. And that's all that passes for a story in this game. Pirate Pete has exactly 3 lives to try and succeed in his mission. Credits are added using the L button, while the R button starts the game. The number of credits players can add is unlimited, although there are no continues. If you fail, you start right at the beginning. Luckily, you have a lifeline of an extra life every 10,000 points. Pete controls using the directional buttons for movement and the B button for jumping and attacking, although these are fully customizable. More on that in a bit. The environments themselves can be thought of as 4 separate minigames held together by the pirate theme and Pete's heroic quest. The first environment is the pirate ship, and here Pete has to swing from rope to rope in an effort to get from one end of the ship to the other. Each rope swings at a different angle and speed, so the key here is to know when to jump. Why Pete can't simply walk across the ship is beyond me. Wait, do the moths have mustaches? Second, Pete has to swim across the ocean in order to get to the shore. The waters are filled with fish that are meant to be sharks but look like tunas to me, and later swordfishes too. In any case, they would love nothing better than to snap Pete up for lunch. Thankfully, he can fight them off with a knife. Useful hint here as well. The safest way to traverse this environment, at least in Loop 1, is to swim across the surface, although of course you miss out on collecting some points. The third environment is the cave. Rocks come tumbling down the hill and Pete has to execute perfectly timed jumps in order to avoid them. Meanwhile, snakes pop down from the cave ceiling to try and bite you. We might as well talk graphics while we're at it. These have an endearing quality to them. There's something about the blocky and colourful visual presentation of early to mid-80s arcade titles that I just find charming and attractive. Meanwhile, the music here is jaunty, catchy and complements the on-screen action well. Of course, it's very primitive compared to modern games, comprising mainly of bloops and bleeps, but it does the job. Same for the sound effects. The fourth environment is a one-screen affair in which Pete's jumping skills are once again put to the test as he bounces his way over the pirates' heads before his lady pirate can be dunked in the flaming cauldron. Finish a loop and another harder one starts with more obstacles, enemies and swapped color palettes. For example, in stage 1, some ropes now have giant parrots that need to be avoided. Stage 2 has swordfishes that can make a beeline for you. All in all, Pirate Pete is adept at providing engaging mechanics revolving around learning patterns to determine when it's best to perform an action, such as jumping and avoiding obstacles. The controls are simple, responsive and easy to grasp. Some of the detection though can be a bit hit or miss, quite literally, particularly in stage 3 and later loops. There are other mechanics typical of the time, such as racking up points for high scores, achieved by completing successful jumps, taking down enemies and leaping over obstacles. Hamster has put together a package that's a little bit more bare bones than other games in the series. There's only one version of Pirate Pete for one, and that's the original 1982 US release, so there are no Japanese and international versions to be found here. What there is the usual caravan and high score modes. The former challenges players to score as many points as possible within 5 minutes without using saves. With the latter, players play through the game with only 1 credit and without using saves. The inclusion of these modes makes sense within the context of Pirate Pete, a loop of which can be completed in under 5 minutes. Something I didn't talk about in my previous review was the sheer amount of options Hamster includes in their releases, and Pirate Pete is no exception. For starters, you can create save interruption points. This means that you can begin at a save point you created when you next start the game. As mentioned, you can also customize the controls, plus change the difficulty and display settings. Want a border? You got it. Scan lines? No sweat. Players can further upload high scores onto an online leaderboard to see how they compare with other would-be pirates, and even a manual that explains how the game works. In conclusion, I enjoy Pirate Pete for what it is, a charmingly bright and vibrant example of an era in arcade game history that I happen to like quite a bit. The graphics are colourful, the music jaunty, and the gameplay is simple but effective. The game's increasing difficulty with each loop might put some people off. The game's no stroll through the park, believe me, although others might find the challenge to relish. If you're a retro game enthusiast or someone who's curious about this particular era of arcade games, then I would say it's a game worth picking up when it goes on sale on the eShop. Thank you very much for watching this review, and if you like what you saw and heard, consider liking, commenting, subscribing and all that good stuff. Until next time, adios amigos.